Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you with another video. All right, so these days I'm lending my voice to all different types of topics outside of basketball, and of course, with everything going on in the world, um, seems like it's a healthy thing to filter. So I've been doing a lot of that lately, and I appreciate you guys' support and all that you guys do in continuing to keep this channel alive. So as I continue to talk about certain things, if it's not basketball related and you're interested in basketball content, I don't have a problem with you guys moving on from it at all. This is just my opinion on stuff that ain't got nothing to do with that. Okay, so I'm paying attention to T.I., rapper T.I. out of Atlanta, MC legend T.I. He's been around for a long time. Of course, you know, he's known for being also not only someone who's a rapper, but someone who's been in reality TV, and his family is public. You know, they're public figures. We know of them, and you know, it's one of those situations where right now he's kind of gotten caught in the middle of a situation between his son, King, young man who's been making a name from himself out here, trying to entertain and maybe going about it in a way that's raising some alarms, and then Charleston White, someone that I've spoken about I think a few times on this channel, probably not as much as maybe has come to mind, but a guy who I'm still trying to figure out where he stands. Sort of like we say about Kanye politically, that's kind of how I feel about Charleston White as it pertains to some of the things that he talks about, and where he's willing to take certain things. I think I get him. I've heard him speak on things that I can agree with and say, wow, I really appreciate what his ultimate goal is. But then I listen to how he gets to those points and some of the things that he's willing to do to entertain and catch people's ear. And I just feel like he goes far too far for what I like to receive as a consumer. Far too far. Maybe that makes me a little too sensitive. I don't know. But at 38 years of age, where I'm at, I just get often offended by some of the things that he says. And so now we get to a point where we say, okay, Charleston White's whole point of view, as far as I could tell, is to try to use all of these different point of views that he has as it pertains to his own people. He uses the fact that he hates gang culture. He's someone who grew up in the South, but had some affiliations with a certain gang, and found himself out here in LA trying to research the gang, and kind of got intertwined in some things, and ultimately ended up having some relationships go sour. That's my understanding how it went. And then from there we went back home and kind of kept the idea that gangs need to be destroyed in his mind. I guess he came out here with that in mind in the first place, but kind of wanted to get close to gangs just to kind of understand a bit better what it is that he hated. And I think, you know, it was one of those situations where that's my understanding how it went for him. So he went back home and started making a name for himself as somebody who's going to be fighting crime, sort of an Uncle Ruckus kind of character. If you follow the Boondock series, has a characteristic of himself that doesn't really appreciate his people on the surface, but if you listen to him deeply, he's really actually trying to better his people in his own way by showing different things to us and holding us accountable in a very raw and disrespectful way. But ultimately with the hopes of helping us see ourselves. So I try to absorb him in very small increments, but I just found that this is not for me, man. I walk away from that. But nevertheless, this is a situation that found on my radar because I was paying attention to T.I. Now, most people who follow Charleston White understand at this point that there's no level he won't go to with his mouth. He will go to the furthest, most disrespectful place. And it's his brand. And for whatever reason, sort of like Donald Trump, it's just accepted. Like, people just, you know, certain people have that niche where you expect the worst from them. And he happens to be one of those people in this community. But unfortunately, there's a great deal of us, like me, who don't want to hear it, even though we understand it. It's like, nah, you are playing with words that should not be spoken of. And this is what he used, and this is what he did in this situation. So now I came across T.I. T.I. got online. He was essentially saying, you know, my spirit is heavy. because I'm being attacked by this situation. I can't necessarily fight this man the way I would like to in the streets because obviously he's a public figure. The thing about Charleston White is he makes it a name. He makes it known that he'll call the cops. It's a part of his brand to weaponize the police against his own people. Like, so that's why it's hard to understand where he stands, because he's literally calling the cops, asking for certain things to be done that could put people away for a very long time. Albeit people that would not be considered innocent, I guess, to common civilians, but nevertheless people who are outside in complicated situations that don't necessarily need to be having this light shined upon them for a plethora of reasons that have nothing to do with anything I understand at all. But nevertheless, he's playing with forces to entertain that really are stressing the people he's applying this pressure, to. And in turn also doing the job of the police, putting these people away in some cases if it comes to that. So, it's getting really ugly out here in regards to Charleston White and what he's trying to do. And I don't think T.I. is as familiar with Charleston White as maybe the average person is. The way this is the way I'm gathering, it seems like T.I. don't really know of Charleston's entire get down. He knows Charleston will use the weaponry against his own people, but I don't think he necessarily knows of the other things that Charleston's trying to do to kind of enrich and help the people. He shines a light on the transgressions of T.I. in this situation. He's essentially bringing up something that happened in T.I.'s past, where T.I. was ultimately accused of being snitched or something like that. He's essentially saying he weaponizes the cops against his enemies or whoever it is he's pointing against in his own community, because he's seen T.I. do it in the past or what have you. So this is getting to a point where he's just poking T.I. in every which way. And now, of course, you got to point your attention to T.I.'s son, King. And King is a young man who, as I said, he's entertaining the public in ways that got people around him concerned. And basically his image right now is that of a young kid who is going the wrong direction. He's doing things the wrong way. He's getting into it with people that he shouldn't be getting into it with, sort of like Charleston White. He's more or less moving how Charleston moves, just in a different way, and he's not, doing the I hate my own people thing. There ain't none of that going on. But nevertheless, the energy of young King is that of somebody who needs work. Just like we look at Charleston and say that's somebody who needs work. Basically, that's what it is. That's the niche. But unfortunately, he got into it with Charleston White, and then, Charleston White, like he does, said some things that you should never say about or to anyone's child. The things that he said were just so horrible. He used Trayvon Martin, said what he was going to do to King if King jumped on him. A young King had said he was going to jump on Charleston White and beat him up if he see him or something like that, wolfing. And of course Charleston said, hey, if this kid tries to do that to me, I'm gonna protect myself. I'm gonna shoot him. And the example he used was Trayvon Martin, and it was it's one of those things where you expect him to do that. You hear that at any other mouth, and it's gonna be the biggest story in the world, literally any other mouth. But Charleston White is like, yeah, we've heard him say a lot worse before, a lot worse than that. So now that he's come around to saying that, it's like, they add that to the 768,000 other things that if he said that probably would get him beat up in most situations or worse. So it's one of those situations where I think the understanding most people have is that Charleston White is asking for it. He really is. But he's also untouchable because of the fact that he's willing to use the cops in any situation. So T.I. is stressed out because he wants to handle the situation the street way. He can't. He wants to handle it the social media way. That ain't gonna work. His son is wrapped up in the situation. It's a lot that T.I. is taking on, and what his point of view is, I ain't worried about Charleston, but the people who usually ask me to come to their support, where are they now? That was his point of view. That's why his spirit was heavy. He said, because, I'm being attacked. I can't do nothing. Y'all see what's happening. And I've come to the defense very recently. We've even talked about this. He came to the defense of Regina Carter, Lil Wayne's daughter. You know what I mean? So I think that might be something one could speculate and say, oh, he might be talking about Wayne in the situation as amongst others. But at the end of the day, I think people look at this. I think people look at both the situations. If I'm just to compare the two situations, this with Charleston White and that, having been Lil Wayne's situation with academics, kind of the same way. Academics and Charleston White are harmless unless you engage with them in such a way that makes it so that they're going to be not. You know what I mean? As long as they're wolfing, if you don't pay them no attention, you're going to ignore it. Like Soldier Boy, for example. If Soldier Boy's wolfing, nobody's going to take Soldier Boy seriously because we know he's going around trolling. That is Charleston White. We know he's going around trolling. No matter how low he goes, at the end of the day, you know he's just smiling at the end. You know, it's one of those. Unless you take it too far, and that's essentially what he was responding to. He knows what type of energy he puts out. Charleston White does. So once people start talking about putting their hands on him, just like anybody in a position like that, they gotta guard up. They gotta put forth that image that, yo, I will take it there just in case. Because you know what? Those dangers that he's going up against are real. So I understand where Charleston's coming from, even though, you know, it's like you're talking about a child, for one, and two, you're talking about T.I.'s kids, so it's gonna be a thing. And three, how do you say this? You know, at the end of the day, man, you are using names of people that have been lost in ways that have been controversial surrounding racism and stuff like that. And while that's his lane, that's his niche, his Uncle Ruckus type of niche, it's still very raw and hurtful. You know what I mean? You say these things. That's why I can't really get with the entertainment, because you're playing with spirits in my mind. You know what I mean? You're messing around with stuff that people's raw pain. And I just think that we have too much of that in our culture already. When people smoking they ops and all that, it's just we don't need to continue to engage in that type of energy. And I'm big on energy. I don't mess with that energy. I think it brings back the wrong type of stuff. As you can see now, T.I., I look at the situation. This is why I speak of it. This is exactly why I bring it to the channel, because T.I. looking stressed, and I know how an environment from which T.I. grew up in, how that environment can make a person feel in terms of handling stressful situations. That's what I'm saying. I ain't from where he's from, but I'm from an environment where people are stressed. When they feel that kind of stress, they react a certain way. And I see that that's where his head is at. And so I think Charleston White got a whiff of that too, to be honest with you guys, because he started talking about a celebrity boxing match. And I think that's like code for, hey, bro, I'm just playing. Let's get a bag. But T.I.'s spirit feels like it's been attacked. He's looking at this like this ain't just Charleston White trolling. I got forces coming against me. And Charleston White does need to be aware that you weaponizing the police does put you in a position to be seen as bigger than just you trying to build your brand. And that's what I would tell him if I knew him behind the scenes. Like, bro, do you know what you're messing with? Like, do you know what you're messing with? I said the same thing about 6ix9ine. I said the same thing about Wack 100. Do y'all know what y'all messing with? I don't think they do. In the name of trying to build their brands and get the entertainment and get all these views, you're putting a target on yourselves when you're looked at as cooperative. That's what I'm saying. It's this snitching stuff. People play with it like it's a joke. No, it's not. And people are patient. That's why I'm like, a lot of y'all think, oh, well, no one's doing anything to snitch. Yeah. And that's what I fear. That's what I speak to. And that's why I'm like, yo, somebody needs to say something. Somebody who understands this needs to say something. I understand all this. I understand building your brand. I understand faking the funk. I understand finding your niche. I understand going up against your daddy, trying to be a celebrity like him. Oh, I know I'm not that, but I get that. I've seen people who lived that if I wasn't that myself from growing up in Hollywood. I know that world. I would tell King, your dad is going through something, bro. He's going through something because of this. And if you got a situation with Charleston White where y'all WWE in it, you need to let your daddy in on that. Because I already thought of that. I'm like, are we sure they're not playing and nobody else knows? Because that's what it looked like. He ain't going. First of all, what he said he was going to do was shoot King in the neck. And as I'm saying to you guys, that's awful. I can't get with that energy. But that's online and on brand with what he's saying, because he's trying to say I'm bad enough And I hate my own folks enough that I would be willing to do that. And since that's T.I.'s son, don't think he can't get it like any one of y'all, since I know I put out that energy and therefore I expect it to come back to me. So please, rather than to say, please don't hurt me because I know I deserve it, I'm going to weaponize myself against any one of y'all, and even a child I'll shoot in the throat if it comes to that. Just in case he got 100 people who want to kill him all at the same time for the stupid crap that he's constantly saying. It's just a defensive mechanism that a lot of people put up. I know how it works. It's how it works. So, like I would tell T.I., look, bro, I know that in situations like this, you're trying to figure out if it's one way to go or another way to go, or if there's no way to go, who got my back. But at the end of the day, if you don't say nothing, it'll go away. I know he's poking at some real bad stuff, but it ain't stuff that ain't public. We know about the Crime Stopper, all that. We know all about that, bro. All the people were saying, talk to King. That's what the people were saying. That's what the people were saying. Me, I personally don't have a son. I don't know. And like I said, I'm smart enough to see an angle where King ain't even out of control. He's just found his niche as the kid who's out of control. Y'all are watching that. Y'all interested in that, so he's going to be that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I envision a world where that's possible, and to him being out of control could be as well. So I don't assume nothing when it comes to stuff like that. And that always keeps me able, to see what may or may not be there. So, hey, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I would just say, T.I., this ain't as heavy as it feels like. Put it like this. In my mind, whatever T.I. is going to do in response to that is the devil he's worried about. That's what I'm saying to you. Whatever it is that he's going to do in response to that is the devil he's worried about. We got to know when the devil has positioned himself in a way to make us act. Because that's all he can do. And my mother told me something a long time ago. It was like, there's a gnat in your house and it's going to fly all around. And what you're going to do is swing at that gnat and knock over everything in your house. So by the time you kill the gnat, you would have destroyed your house. The key to all of this is to keep your energy calm. Wait for the gnat to land. Or if you have a compassionate way, you can wait for it to land and put it in a cup and send it outside. Whatever you're going to do. But if your energy is that of threatening, then you're playing right into the hands of that of which would want you to destroy your house. That's all, you know what I mean? That's all you're going to do. So what I would say is, T.I., your enemies, if anything, they're just trying to frustrate you into making a mistake. And that's it. That's all they can do. Because at the end of the day, they ain't telling us nothing we don't know. He ain't going to shoot your son. He wouldn't dare. And your son's not going to do anything stupid at this point to go toward Charleston White if he heeded that warning. You know what I'm saying? And if he's dumb enough to do. And see, that's what it comes down to. And this is what the public is saying. If King is going to make a decision, he's going to make a decision just like any other grown man. But I would tell anybody in this situation, if you got one person in your family, in your conglomerate, that you have to constantly protect, you got to be very careful that in the process of trying to protect them and all they're doing, that you don't leave everybody else you're supposed to be responsible for vulnerable. And that's really the best thing I can say. You know what I mean? If there are more people to be responsible for and that one person is constantly putting everybody at risk, you got to let that person go out there on their own so that you can secure everything else. And if T.I. goes out on a crash out mission in the name of King's little nonsense right now, the rest of his family's at risk. Now everything else he has to guard against, all the other things he's responsible for, goes to crap. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm speaking. That's exactly what I see there. It's like, yo, he gonna try to go on a crash out mission, get himself 40 years, and it'll all be over from there. You know what I'm saying? For what? Because Charleston White's just out here being Charleston White. Believe me, if T.I. leaves this situation alone, he gonna find somebody else to do this to. I mean, it's just who he is. You know what I mean? It's literally who he is. And once you start hearing more conversations about what he's talking about, you're like, oh, that's your goal? All right, well, just find somebody else to do that to then. That's what I would tell him now. Like, clearly, you too heavy for T.I. right now. Clearly, the boy's stressed out. Find another subject, so. That's all. Find another subject. Leave this kid alone. Stressing the man out. You gotta know when to stop. Just like you tell any child. Know when to stop. Charleston, some stop. Some stop. And so that's what I gotta say to that, man. Some of us, we just watch this stuff and some people laugh, some people troll, some people want to see people crash out. Me, I really don't. I really don't. I have no interest in seeing people crash out. And I look to try to help others see what it is that I see. Simple as that. I see something there. Yo, he's really stressed. Too stressed for what it is that he's dealing with. And so that puts Charleston in a position to, you know, just stop. Just he puts him in a position to where it's now smart to stop. So that's all I'm saying, man. So everybody's gonna enjoy their entertainment. It is what it is. Hopefully, young King can be safe too. You know what I mean? And I think of the spirit of the Martin family. You know what I mean? I don't want to end this video without sending them good energy, and I'll be praying for them and their healing going forward. And I encourage everybody to support whatever they're working on. I know his mother was working on something. Trayvon Martin. I know they have a foundation of some sort, so I encourage everybody to go check it out and keep them in mind when we doing whatever we're doing, trying to troll and all that. There are people out there we can trigger with our stuff, man. Whatever we're doing, you know, just be mindful. There are people out there hurting right now while you're trying to make things happen. So that's what I got to say, man. My name is BDL44. Thank you all for watching.